Hi everyone, my name's Sophia Jan, and once upon a time I created a How I Got into UCLA stats video.
Hi, my name's Sophia, and this is how I got into UCLA.
To this day, that video continues to rack up views, and it has about 6,000 views now, which is my second most popular video. It was inspired by a TikTok I posted on my TikTok account, which got I think 12K likes, which was about my college acceptances and rejections, and I thought it was the perfect time to start my own YouTube channel, something I've always wanted to do, and do the classic How I Got into This School stats video. I had watched a ton of those in high school, and I just knew that they were popular videos, and I loved watching them, so I decided to make one of my own. So today I thought it would be fun to do a little recap on everything I've been up to since that video came out. It's been over 3 years now since the video came out, so it's been a while. I've been in college for a good amount of time. I'm actually going into my senior year, so last year of college, which is crazy. And yeah, I feel like many times when you see those stats videos, you never really hear about the people afterwards, like once they start college and what they're up to. And so I thought it would be a nice way for my viewers to get to know me, especially if you guys choose to subscribe to my YouTube channel and continue watching my videos going forward, which I will be posting a ton of UCLA content and just my life in general, so I would love if you guys follow along. But yeah, let's do a little recap video on everything that's been going on. Okay, so starting with the video, I posted the video in April of 2020. I was a senior in college and I had just heard back from all of the schools I had applied to. And so I ended up deciding to go to UCLA and then creating the stats video. I actually don't know if I did that before or after I made the decision, but it was around that time. And yeah, UCLA was the best school I got into, although I did have some pretty good options. But ultimately, I decided UCLA was the school for me. I did a lot of research on it. I actually never got to tour the campus, but I just did research online and decided it's far away from home, which is something I wanted. I wanted to go out of state. I always knew that I had this kind of California dream where I wanted to live in California at some point, and it was sort of reawakened when I got into UCLA. And UCLA is the number 3 school for psychology, which is what I was going to study. They have a ton of research programs, and there's just a lot of great opportunities with going to UCLA. So I ultimately chose to go there. But unfortunately, I didn't get to start my first year like most people do. It ended up being completely remote. So my first year, I was fully online. I was not allowed to live on campus. I just did not have the traditional college experience. So if you don't know, UCLA is broken down into a quarter system, which means there's 3 quarters that most students take. Some people do a summer quarter, but I usually just did 3. The first quarter of my freshman year, I stayed at home, and I live across the country in Florida, so that was definitely really difficult for me. I just remember really not being thrilled by the whole thing, especially because I'd gotten so excited about what my life was going to look like in college, the freedom I was going to get, all the things I was going to do, like football games and classes and meeting people and clubs and blah blah, and I got none of that. So yeah, I literally started my first day of college in my bedroom where I had filmed the video that I'm talking about, and yeah, it was not too fun, but kind of just chugged through it. And then by the time winter quarter had come around, I knew that I needed to get away from home. I needed to finally have my moment where I could, get that independence and explore something new and be surrounded with other students. So I actually ended up going to Hawaii, out of all places. My intention was to move to LA. A lot of freshmen had, not a lot, but there were a group of freshmen who had decided to move to LA despite the fact that UCLA was not providing us housing or letting us on campus. And I was going to just try and find a way to join one of those groups, get an apartment, something like that. Figure out a way to make it to LA and live in Westwood, which is the college town, so that I could be near campus and I could meet people and stuff like that. Unfortunately, it didn't end up working out, and so my next option was going to Hawaii with 6 other UCLA students. They were all freshmen as well, and they were basically going to rent out this big house in Hawaii and just live there for a semester, do school, hang out, explore Hawaii, just have a good time. And although it, like, in hindsight, it really wasn't my thing, I'm not that adventurous, I ended up going, and I basically kind of started to get used to the people that I was going to go to school with. There weren't just the group of kids that I was living with. There were also 2 other girls who lived down the street from us who I became really close with. And then there was another group of freshmen. There were 8 of them who also had gotten a house in Hawaii and weren't too far away either. So we did a lot of events and stuff like that with them and hung out. And of course we were doing our classes there as well. And so it was very untraditional, but it was something that I wouldn't have been able to do if everything had been normal. And so I'm grateful for the opportunity, and it's a really cool thing to do. Like, I was very privileged to be able to do something like that. And then spring quarter came around and I was like, okay, what do I do now? And I was still really craving like the move to LA because, mind you, I had never been to LA before. And so I decided I was going to get a university apartment with one of the girls who lived down the street in Hawaii, and we were gonna live there for our spring quarter. And a couple of other people also moved down to LA from the Hawaii group, so it was really nice because I knew people and I wasn't alone, but it also gave me the opportunity to meet a lot of new people that went to UCLA, both in my grade and in higher grades and stuff like that. And honestly, it was a great time. It was really life on easy mode. School kind of came second, but I did really well in school during that time too. So it was just an overall fun time, and I loved it. And I loved UCLA, and I was just so happy to be there, and I was having a great time. So moving on to sophomore year, this was when things finally went back to normal. We were allowed to live on campus. We started having classes in person. Everyone was there. Like, the whole campus was filled. It was finally the real college experience I had been waiting for. I ended up living in a dorm. I lived in a Plaza Triple in Rebert Terrace, and I actually have a video of me moving into that dorm on my YouTube channel if you ever want to go watch it. And yeah, I lived with 2 other girls, both of who I wasn't super close with, but I kind of knew, well, I knew one of them. The other one was friends with the girl I knew. And yeah, I started taking courses. I was taking 4 courses a quarter, which is like pretty normal for a UCLA student. We usually do 3 or 4. And I actually decided to rush and join a sorority my fall quarter of sophomore year. That ended up being an interesting experience. I ended up dropping it after the first quarter because I just realized it wasn't really for me. But I did meet a couple people through that, and I had experiences. You can decide whether they're good or bad. I also have a video about my rush process on this YouTube channel. I made a lot of UCLA related YouTube videos, honestly. But yeah, anyway, so I did that. But I'm gonna be honest, things were not great. Like, the overall experience I had my sophomore year was not really a great one. I had a really hard time in general. I honestly, by the end of my sophomore year, I was really miserable, and I just was not enjoying my time at UCLA, so much so that in March, so basically, I think it was the end of winter quarter of my sophomore year, I decided to apply to transfer. I wasn't doing it super seriously. It was sort of just like an alternative option because I had been having a really hard time. My mental health was like really suffering. I had a hard time making connections with people on campus and finding genuine people, despite the fact that I'd made so many different friends during my time at UCLA. I felt like I didn't really have a support system there. And it was just hard being so far away from home. Plus, there wasn't really anything that was like keeping me there, I'll be honest. I think that there wasn't like a community or a student organization or a professor or a class that was really keeping me at UCLA. It was kind of like I was just chugging along miserably. And so by the end of my sophomore year, so much had accumulated and so much had happened that I finally decided I needed to leave. And so I actually ended up transferring away from UCLA. Fun fact. So I ended up transferring to the University of Miami. The University of Miami was basically home for me because I grew up in Miami and I have a lot of connections to the university outside of it just being a school I ended up going to. And The reason why I ended up going there was because when I was applying to transfer, I really didn't spend much time thinking about where I wanted to go. I just sort of knew that I wanted to go home, and the University of Miami was the best option for that. I actually didn't apply to any other colleges. I just wanted to go home. Like I wanted to be away from UCLA and at home. And so that's what I ended up doing. I got accepted to UM and basically right away decided that I was going to transfer, which was a controversial thing for me to do, but I did it regardless because I was just so desperate to be out of UCLA. And yeah, so exactly a year ago today, from the time that I'm filming this video, I started my first day at UM, and that was an experience in itself. I absolutely do not regret transferring or going to the University of Miami. And the reason why I say that is because I feel like I learned so much from the experience. I grew so much as well. And I just feel like I became a better, more stable person. Like I feel like I grew into myself and I know myself a lot better now, and there's just a lot that I experienced in the time that I was there. I feel like it was very much like a self-growth experience, and I'm really thankful that I had that because I feel like everyone has to have that at some point, but in this case it really happened exponentially, and I feel so secure in who I am now. But my experience at UM was not exactly what I was hoping it would be. I think I really had high expectations for it because I wanted it to be the opposite of what I was experiencing at UCLA when I left. I wanted it to be fun. I wanted to meet a lot of people. Like I just wanted to have an overall great time so that I knew the decision to transfer was worth it. And I didn't end up having that. For one, I didn't really care for the academics at the University of Miami. I didn't really like how the school was structured with like class sizes and like attendance and expectations. I also didn't really care for the semester system. I honestly really do love the quarter system. There's just something about it. I know people can't get behind it, but once you do, it's great. I love it. And the semester system was so different from that. I also didn't really meet a lot of people. Being a transfer at any school is very difficult. There's a lot less opportunity for you to meet people. And I'm not gonna lie, like I didn't really put myself out there because I wasn't really feeling it. And the biggest thing of the whole experience was I realized that when you have certain problems like mental health issues or issues like that, escaping to another place is not going to get rid of those issues. They're just going to follow you and you're going to have to deal with them at some point. And so once I got to UM, I realized, okay, maybe I'm not doing much better mentally. And now it's time to work on that. And that's why I'm grateful that I had this experience because it forced me to really kind of work on just feeling better and becoming more secure in myself and just kind of working through everything that I wasn't able to work through at UCLA because I feel like I was so busy and clouded and all that. So anyways, don't regret the experience whatsoever. But by the time that I got to my second semester at UM, so winter semester, I was sort of over it. And I was really, really missing UCLA. And it wasn't like I was regretting the decision. I was just realizing that there were certain qualities of UCLA that I found a lot more important than the decision to stay at the University of Miami and graduate from there. The biggest one was I really did want to get my degree from UCLA because I feel like I had worked so hard to go to a good school in high school. Like high school me, who created that video that I've been talking about, like she had worked so hard, and I just couldn't disappoint that version of myself. I just knew I needed to find a way to graduate from UCLA, but I had no clue whether that was even an option anymore because I had just completely left, okay? So yeah, I basically at some point realized, you know what, maybe I wanna switch up again, do like a full 180. And so in February of this year, or maybe January, it was either January or February, I finally brought it up to my parents. And I'm not kidding, like I was so scared to do that because I thought that they were going to be super upset because I was yet again switching up. Like I had been so determined to like transfer away from UCLA, and now all of a sudden I was like, you know what, actually I kind of miss it. I want to go back. I want to get my degree from there. But luckily my parents were actually really supportive. My dad basically said like, you know, if that's what you think is where you're gonna get the best education, then yeah, if you wanna go back, like find a way to go back. And so I spent some time trying to figure out how I could make that happen. And I basically learned that there's a readmission process for students who went to UCLA and then left for whatever reason. And so I basically did the readmission process and I got accepted. It's not a competitive process whatsoever. And actually, I'm gonna make a video on how to get readmitted to UCLA, so you can stay tuned for that. But anyways, so I got back in. This was in March, and basically the moment I found out I had gotten back in, I essentially dropped out of the University of Miami. I knew that I wasn't gonna go back. I knew I was dead set on getting my degree from UCLA, and I was going to do whatever it took and deal with whatever came to me in the last year that I had at UCLA, just so that I could get that degree. And so, yeah, now it is August 2023. I start my I technically started it a couple weeks ago because I'm taking summer classes at UCLA. But I'm just gonna say that I start my first day of school probably ever, unless I decide to go to grad school, but I have no plans right now, next month. And I am excited to be back at UCLA. I'm also really nervous, but I'm hoping for the best, and I'm trusting that the person who I've become in the last year will carry me through to the end and get me that degree, and I'll graduate from UCLA in June of 2024, which is so crazy and exciting. But yeah, I'm super excited for the year ahead of me. I'm going to be recording everything so that I have it as memory for the future and I can look back. So yeah, if you want to subscribe and follow along to see what my life looks like when I'm back at UCLA, everything I'm up to, graduation prep, blah, 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 like everything that I'm doing, which I plan to do a lot because it is my last year and I have to take advantage of it. Otherwise, I'm going to miss out on the true college experience. Yeah, I'll be posting those videos here. And that's basically where I'm at in life right now. In the meantime, I've also done a couple of internships. I just finished my summer internship for this year a couple weeks ago as well. I don't know exactly what I'm gonna do post-college. Oh, the other thing is I started a podcast. I have a podcast, and honestly, that's the ultimate dream for me. I really want to be able to work on that podcast full time when I graduate college, as well as work on this YouTube channel. And then I'm also going to be launching my very own podcast next month, also like a month from today, I think. And I'm excited about that. And yeah, basically just working on that kind of stuff, really putting all my energy, or not all my energy, but a lot of my energy into that and school in the next year, just to see where everything goes. And I'm just excited to see where I am in a year's time. And I hope some of my dreams come true. So yeah, I will also link all of that information down below so you can listen to the podcast. It's about dating, relationships, and life in your 20s. And I will be sharing when I launch my own podcast in a month's time and all that good stuff. And so yeah, basically that is what my life has looked like these past 3 years ever since I dropped that video. It's crazy to think that 18-year-old me, I wasn't even 18, I was 17. 17-year-old me was just so excited to start school, and she could have never imagined 21-year-old her in the position that she is in now and the life that she's lived. But I'm so proud of my younger self and myself today, of everything we accomplished. And I'm just looking forward and excited for the future. And yeah, that's basically the recap. Now you guys are caught up. You guys can subscribe and keep following along as I move forward. And yeah, to the future. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you in my next video, and don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Bye. Oh, and also for the people who have been subscribed to me since day one, who subscribed to me when they saw that very first video at the time that it dropped, thank you so much for following on my journey. I don't know how many of you there are, but if you've been following along, thank you.